the National Association for Stock Car Auto Racing has just revealed exactly when and where fans can gather to say a final goodbye to Kyle Busch. The date is set, the location is confirmed, and the doors will be open to everyone, completely free of charge. After months of private grief, the sport is now preparing for one massive public farewell to one of the greatest drivers who ever lived. And for those who spent years watching Kyle Busch in victory lane, this is the moment the racing world has been waiting for since his sudden passing earlier this year. On July 10th, 2026, the racing organization announced that a public celebration of life honoring Kyle Busch will be held on Friday, October 9th at Charlotte Motor Speedway. The service will take place following that day's Craftsman Truck Series race. In its announcement, the organization confirmed that the event will be free and open to the public, describing it as an opportunity providing fans, members of the motorsports industry, friends and loved ones an opportunity to come together in remembrance and tribute to one of racing's most influential and accomplished competitors. The choice of Charlotte Motor Speedway carries deep meaning. It is the same track where the death of Kyle Busch cast a shadow over one of the sport's biggest weekends, just days before the Coca-Cola 600. It is also the track where Kyle Busch stood as a winner, having captured the 2018 Coca-Cola 600. The celebration also falls during the season's second and final Charlotte Motor Speedway race weekend, with the top-level Cup Series race scheduled for Sunday, October 11th. For now, several details remain unconfirmed. The organization stated that additional information regarding timing, speakers, and other event logistics will be announced in the coming days and weeks as plans are finalized. In its public message, the organization wrote, "Please save the date and join us as we honor Busch's remarkable life and enduring impact on the sport of NASCAR and generations of racing fans." On social media, the announcement was captured in a single line that has since spread across the racing community. Forever remembered. Forever celebrated. Join us on October 9th at Charlotte Motor Speedway as we honor the life and legacy of Kyle Busch. To understand the weight of this celebration, it is worth revisiting how the sport arrived at this moment. The final chapter of the career of Kyle Busch unfolded quickly and without warning. On May 10th, 2026, during the Cup Series race at Watkins Glen, Kyle Busch radioed his team and requested that a doctor meet him after the event, with the issue believed at the time to be a cold or sinus problem. Despite that, he continued to compete. On May 15th, 2026, just 5 days later, Kyle Busch returned to victory lane, winning the Truck Series race at Dover Motor Speedway. That victory would become the final win of his career. After an earlier triumph, when asked why winning never seemed to lose its meaning, Kyle Busch had once given an answer that now carries a haunting weight. Because you never know when the last one is. 2 days after that final win, on May 17th, 2026, Kyle Busch competed in the All-Star race. Then, on May 20th, 2026, he collapsed during a simulator test at the General Motors Charlotte Technical Center in Concord, North Carolina, where he became unresponsive and was transported to a hospital. The following day, May 21st, 2026, Kyle Busch died at the age of 41. On May 23rd, 2026, the family confirmed the cause of death. In a statement, they explained, "The medical evaluation provided to the Busch family concluded that severe pneumonia progressed into sepsis, resulting in rapid and overwhelming associated complications. The family also asked for continued understanding and privacy during a difficult time." A private funeral was held on June 2nd, 2026, and Kyle Busch was cremated in Mooresville, North Carolina. The scale of what the sport lost becomes clear when the career of Kyle Busch is laid out in full. No driver in the history of the sport won more races across the top 3 national series than Kyle Busch, who recorded 234 combined victories, more than any competitor who has ever raced. He won 63 races at the Cup Series level, a total that ranks among the highest in the sport's history. He captured 2 Cup Series championships in 2015 and 2019, and he also claimed the regular season title in 2018 and 2019. The resume extends well beyond the top division. Kyle Busch won the second-tier series championship in 2009, and he finished his career as the all-time wins leader in that series, with 102 victories. He also stands as the all-time wins leader in the Craftsman Truck Series. His dominance stretched across nearly 2 decades in a way that few drivers have ever matched. Among the records held by Kyle Busch is one that many fans point to as the truest measure of his consistency. He won at least 1 Cup Series race in 19 straight seasons, from 2005 through 2023. He is also the only driver in the modern era to win a race at every active Cup Series track. His final top-level victory came in 2023 at Worldwide Technology Raceway while driving for Richard Childress Racing. The story of Kyle Busch cannot be told through numbers alone. Throughout his career, he was one of the sport's most polarizing figures. He entered the top division as a young driver and quickly earned nicknames that followed him for life, including Rowdy, Shrub, and Wild Thing. His aggressive style and outspoken personality made him the villain that fans loved to boo, and it also created one of the most loyal fan bases in the sport, known as Rowdy Nation. For 15 years, Kyle Busch carried the reputation of the driver everyone had an opinion about. Yet those who knew him best have revealed a side of Kyle Busch that the public rarely saw. Bill Janetz, who served as the public relations representative for Kyle Busch for 15 years, spoke about a quiet truth in an interview. The subject was the Most Popular Driver Award, an honor determined by fan voting. Bill Janetz explained, "One of the conversations that's happened since he passed has been about Most Popular Driver. Chase Elliott was so gracious in talking about that and saying he'd love to see Kyle win it. It's kind of crazy because, as much as Kyle wore that black hat, he didn't really love it." He continued with a reflection on the man behind the reputation, saying simply, "Human nature is that you want to be loved." According to Bill Janetz, the desire to one day win that fan-voted honor stayed with Kyle Busch far more than outsiders understood. "I'd love to see the fans rally behind him and vote him Most Popular Driver because, I'm telling you, he'd get a kick out of that. He talked about it more than people would ever know," Bill Janetz said. He also spoke about the role that Kyle Busch played in the sport itself, explaining, "But if you had a bunch of people who weren't passionate and didn't care, nobody would want to watch the sport. He was one of the people who made NASCAR fun to watch, and I was incredibly lucky to have a front row seat to watch greatness for 15 years. That desire has now become part of a larger gesture. Chase Elliott, who has won the Most Popular Driver Award for 8 consecutive years, announced that he is withdrawing his name from the ballot in the hope that Kyle Busch will win it. Speaking about the decision, Chase Elliott said, "I'm not guaranteed the win, so let's make that clear, number one. That's not me saying, oh, it's mine, and remove myself for that reason. I just think it's one of those things that Kyle is a guy who really deserves an award like that." He added, "Just feel like he deserves to win the award, truthfully. I obviously don't know what's going to happen this year, but I just want to throw my support to make sure that I didn't get in the way of that." The most personal reflections have come from the family of Kyle Busch. He is survived by his wife, Samantha Busch, his 11-year-old son, Brexton Busch, and his 4-year-old daughter, Lennox Busch. He is also survived by his parents, Tom Busch and Gay Busch, and his brother, the Hall of Fame driver Kurt Busch. In the weeks following his death, Samantha Busch shared several tributes, including a promise she made to her husband. She wrote, "In the hospital, I made Kyle a promise. I promised him that I would do everything I could to help our children pursue their dreams no matter what. For Brexton, that dream is racing." That promise has already begun to take shape. Brexton Busch has returned to the track, and Samantha Busch described what it has been like to watch him race. She wrote, "Watching Brexton back at the track is both heartbreaking and beautiful all at once, because there are moments when I catch a glimpse of Kyle in him. The same determination, the same passion, the same spark. And for a second, it feels like a piece of him is still right here with us." She also made clear that racing was a bond the two shared. It wasn't a dream Kyle chose for him. It was something they shared. They spent countless hours talking about race cars, working together, dreaming together, and building a bond around something they both genuinely loved, she wrote. She closed one of her tributes with 3 simple words that have resonated across the sport.
Maybe if I say 2001
so
times,
race
maybe
on.
I'll win because I lost by
The
2,000
brother of
of a
Kyle
second.
Busch has also returned to competition. Kurt Busch, himself a Cup Series champion and Hall of Famer, recently finished 3rd in an event at the historic Le Mans course in France. Before that race, Kurt Busch spoke about carrying his brother with him, saying, "Kyle's spirit will always ride with me." Since the passing of Kyle Busch, the sport has responded with a wave of tributes. Before a race at Charlotte Motor Speedway, the organization held a moment of silence and a missing man formation, and the chief executive spoke while the family of Kyle Busch stood by his side. Fans created a makeshift memorial at Daytona International Speedway, leaving flowers, packages of 1,000 and 1,000s, which was a longtime sponsor of Kyle Busch, and handwritten notes beneath a poster bearing his image. The tributes continued on the track as well. Winning drivers began celebrating their victories by performing the signature bow of Kyle Busch. The driver Denny Hamlin carried a flag bearing the number 8 of Kyle Busch around the track. The Sonoma circuit added Kyle Busch to its wall of fame. His father, Tom Busch, drove an honorary lap around Charlotte Motor Speedway before one of his grandson's races. During the summer shootout at Charlotte Motor Speedway, Tom Busch drove the number 51 Legends car in a missing man formation, taking a lap by itself, while Brexton Busch waved the green and checkered flags. The recognition also reached the highest levels of government. In June 2026, the United States Senate passed a bipartisan resolution honoring Kyle Busch for his career and his role as a father. His team, Richard Childress Racing, retired the number 8, reserving it for his son Brexton Busch should he one day advance in the sport. The car that Kyle Busch drove has since been renumbered to 33 and is now driven by Austin Hill. Not every planned tribute reached the track. Nitro Motorsports had intended to honor Kyle Busch with a special paint scheme for its driver Thomas Annunziata at Lime Rock Park, inspired by the yellow 1000s car that Kyle Busch drove during his championship years. However, the team confirmed the tribute had to be scrapped, explaining that the concept came together quickly, but the timeline did not work out for everyone involved. Thomas Annunziata, who was 21 years old, had described Kyle Busch as his childhood hero, writing, "He's one of the biggest reasons I fell in love with racing in the first place. Ever since I got into NASCAR, part of me always hoped that one day I'd get the chance to race against him." Another tribute is still to come. Chase Elliott is scheduled to drive the truck in which Kyle Busch earned his final victory, the number 7 Chevrolet for Spire Motorsports at North Wilkesboro later in the season. It is a fitting connection between the man stepping aside from an award and the man being honored by it. As the sport turns toward October 9th, the celebration of life at Charlotte Motor Speedway will give fans across the country the chance to gather, remember, and pay their respects to a driver whose impact stretched far beyond the record book. For those who followed the career of Kyle Busch through nearly 2 decades of victories and rivalries, the invitation is now open, the date is set, and the memory of one of the sport's most accomplished competitors will be honored in the same place where so much of his story unfolded. In the words of the organization that he defined for a generation, forever remembered, forever celebrated.